Hey guys, Buff and Game back today, bringing a video, and today we're going to be going over the new weapon that was spotted in the Battlefield's Hazard Zone reveal trailer just the other week. So we covered this a little bit here and there, and I know Temporal put out a post on this weapon. This is going to be the AC-42. So this is an interesting weapon which we just saw a brief glimpse of, as well as the information that was data mined from Temporal. So there's a lot of chatter going on as to what weapon this is. Is it a real weapon? Is it a combination of a bunch of weapons that are taking liberties for the future? So that's kind of what we're going to go into here in this video. So first off, the weapon itself, you can see in the trailer, is clearly a Bullpup rifle. And again, according to Temporal's leaks, this is a Russian weapon. So first off, is this an existing weapon that is going to be put into Battlefield 2042? And the answer is no. This is not an existing weapon. So obviously they're taking it liberties with the weapon for the futuristic timeline here of 2042. So the description of this weapon, the AC-42 assault rifle, reads the following: next generation Russian AR or assault rifle. The AC-42 utilizes non-traditional bullpup layout to provide a compact frame without sacrificing barrel length and accuracy. So if you're familiar with bullpups, that's the big advantage of them, is that you can have a shorter weapon overall with the same barrel length or even longer. It's going to make the weapon more compact without sacrificing accuracy. So if we look at bullpup weapons, for example, the PKP Pecheneg, we do know that the bullpup variant of the Pecheneg is going to be present in Battlefield 2042. And when you look at the bullpup Pecheneg next to the standard PKP Pecheneg, it is significantly shorter. And obviously, that makes the weapon itself lighter because you're getting rid of the stock essentially on that weapon and turning it into a bullpup configuration. So those are really the advantages of the bullpup weapons, is that you have a shorter build of the weapon without sacrificing the accuracy or the barrel length for that weapon. So first off, then we get into this, what is the weapon itself? So to really understand this, this is saying that it's a Russian assault rifle. So the name of the weapon itself, AC-42, fits with standard Russian naming conventions, the A being Avotmat, and C would be the name of the creator of the weapon, the weapon's creator. If we look at the AK-47, the AK-74s, etc., any of the AK weapon platforms, that's going to be Avotmat Kalashnikov. So Avotmat meaning automatic, and then Kalashnikov being the creator, and then we have the year designation for its creation. So AK-47 is Avotmat Kalashnikov model of 1947. We have Avotmat Kalashnikov model of 1974. Then we have the 100 series, 200 series, again, all for really the year where they were developed for the most part. 100 series is typically early 2000s, and then 200s kind of, they just follow a different naming convention. But again, still Avotmat Kalashnikov. We look at other weapons like the AN-94, again, following that same Russian naming convention, the AN, so Avotmat Nikonov being the creator of the weapon. It is not a Kalashnikov rifle, it's a Nikonov rifle, model of 1994. So AN-94, Avotmat Nikonov model 1994. So this weapon itself, the AC-42, adheres to Russian standard naming convention, that being Avotmat, whatever the creator's name is, model of 2042. So Battlefield 2042 taking place obviously in the year 2042, where seemingly this weapon was developed or at least put into service here in the futuristic world of Battlefield 2042. So then, if we look at weapons, what kind of bullpup weapon is this? And again, if we look at the shots of the weapons, you can see the weapon itself has what looks like flip-up iron sights mounted on a top Picatinny, or the Weaver mount, which is on top of these new futuristic rail-type systems that these weapons have in 2042 in this game. We also have what looks like ambidextrous fire control options, or a mag release here. It looks like the mag release in front of the trigger guard, similar to other bullpup weapons we've seen, like the M90 MBR, the modular bullpup rifle, which is set to replace the AUG here as well. So it definitely is taking some similar features. We also have a unique handguard on this, which again, if we look, I know a lot of people are making reference to the Tavor 21. If we look at the Tavor 21, this is actually, we saw the Tavor 21 in Modern Warfare 2019, and that weapon obviously is slightly different. However, I saw a lot of people talking about the handguard on this weapon. If we look at third-party companies such as Midwest Industries, they make different handguards like Keymods and M-Lock handguards, which would replace the standard handguards to extend the handguards like this. So this is not far-fetched that this would still be the case in the future. And if we're looking at a Russian weapon, we would assume it would probably be Zeniko which would do this. And Zeniko is the big Russian manufacturer of these third-party parts for the AK platforms. They make a lot of modular attachments for those weapons. They also create bullpup kits for the AK platform as well, which we'll get into here. So it's taking what looks like an amalgamation of a bunch of different weapons and putting them together, as well as third-party pieces for this weapon, which would fit the futuristic timeline. So let's take a brief look at the history of the Russian AK platform and bullpup version, and just bullpup versions of Russian weapons in general. We go back to the AKU-94 is a Russian bullpup conversion. Really, I believe this is actually developed by the Ukrainians, and it was basically a conversion kit to convert the AK-74 at the time into the AKM into an AK-47 or excuse me, an AKM or an AK-74 bullpup variant. So we did see a similar weapon like that, the AK-103 bullpup in Medal of Honor's Warfighter, but again, this is an AKU-94. Now, we saw the design kind of enhanced over the years, and there's a bunch of other companies that came out with similar conversion kits. We saw Zenico with the Kochevnik, and I know Oxide did a video on that recently. I'll link that down below if you wanted to see that. And it's just pretty amazing what these conversion kits can do to these weapons. Really just add a bunch of modularity. If we look at the Kochevnik by Zenico here, again, it's just adding you're reducing the overall length of the weapon significantly, and adding the standard Zenico modularity attachments to around the handguard, rail mounts, things like that, that allow the weapon to kind of bring it up to spec with the modern day rifles, which we see the same thing with the AR-15 platform here in America. That's something that's very modular and ever enhancing. So these bullpup conversion kits add modularity, much needed modularity to the AK-74s. Now, if we look in the future timeline here, we also see in present day, there's other bullpup conversion kits like Black Storm, which honestly, they make a conversion kit for the AK-74s, which looks most similar to this AC-42 that we're seeing here with that extended handguard. And so this is not the same, but also probably the closest to what I think we're seeing here in the game. Now, one thing to note here, the weapon that we're seeing in the game does not have standard Russian fire selectors. The same thing as the AK-74. That Russian fire select option would be here on this weapon would be the back right above the mag well there, behind where the cartridge is going to be ejected. So we don't see that standard Russian select fire switch. So it appears to be probably somewhere where the operator's Boris's hand is, and it's something that we can't see. So it's definitely taken a new approach, which again, very similar to the Tavor 21, Tavor 7, the Desert Tech MDR, as well as the F90 MBR. So now if we look at Russian bullpup weapons, what could this be? Now originally, before I even saw the photo of this, I thought futuristic bullpup Russian weapon could be the Ash-12 or the Shock-12, but obviously when you look at this, it clearly is not that. When we look at the ammo types that Temporal provided me, there's Russian calibers in game being 545 by 39 and a 762 by 39, so it would stand to reason that this is going to be one of those two calibers, if not both. And since the AK-24 is already 545 by 39, this weapon itself may be 762 by 39, which would fit, because there isn't a 762 weapon that I'm aware of yet in that Russian by 39 caliber in the game. So it would fit that this perhaps is the 762 by 39 variant, or where that ammo fits here in Battlefield 2042. Now, if we look at other Russian weapons that this could be, we have two things here to look at. First off, the Ukrainians developed something called the Malak, also referred to as the Vulcan. So this is basically an upgraded version of their conversion kit, which was the AKU-94, which we went over, or the Vepr, which is a bullpup, again, just a bullpup conversion for the AK-74s and the AKM platform. So what they did, I believe this was back in 2013, they went ahead and they built their own from the ground up version of the bullpup AK-47 or the AK-74 design, and basically encased it with polymer. So this is, instead of a conversion kit, you're building a bullpup variant of the AK-74 and the AKM, essentially. So one thing to note is that the Ukrainians also had a license to produce the Tavor 21 clone, that being the Fort 221. So that was a Ukrainian-produced clone of the Tavor 21, and this was the Malak, or the Vulcan, was supposed to replace that, be another bullpup option for the Ukrainians as well. So the Malik fires 545 by 39 as well as 762 by 39. Like I said, it's basically at its core still an AK platform, but they've modularized it and turned it into a really nice looking bullpup weapon. So we have that, the IPI Malik or the Vulcan, and again, that was kind of brought up in 2005, and it's for the AKM and the AK-74 weapons. Now, if we look at the Vulcan itself, there's the prototypes, and then there's the Vulcan M2 tactical concepts, which we've seen concept art of, and honestly, that looks pretty darn close to what we're seeing here in the game. So that's definitely a possibility, is these different extended handguards and the different modularity put on these weapons. We also have the very little known Kalashnikov ink developed under the old Izhmash factory, the AS-1 and the AS-2 rifle. So the AS-1, I believe, was 545 by 39, and the AS-2 was 762 by 39. This was a new Russian bullpup rifle, which was developed at the newly formed Kalashnikov Inc., which was formerly known as the Izhmash factory. And again, these two weapons were supposed to actually be entered in the second phase of the Ratnik trials in 2013 to compete against the AK-12 design at the time, the prototype variant, as well as the A545, which is the modernized EK971, the A545. So the AS-1 and AS-2 were supposed to be put into that. However, I can't find anything that says that they were actually put into that competition and competed in the Ratnik trials. Obviously, the AK-12 ended up winning out that bid eventually. But the AS-1 and AS-2, very interesting concepts here for these Russian bullpup designs. And these are the only official bullpups from Russia which fire that standard Russian assault rifle caliber, being 545 by 39 and 762 by 39. So personally, I think the answer to this is we're seeing basically a futuristic version of the Tavor or the F90 MBR, which if we look at the Kalashnikov I guess, blog posts that we see on some of these websites, which look at the AS-1 and the AS-2 rifles, obviously it's saying that Izhmash Factory or Kalashnikov Inc. heavily influenced by things like the AUG and other bullpup rifles. So it would stand to reason that they would add this modularity that we're seeing here with the AC-42. And I think what we're seeing really is a combination of probably something like the AS-1, AS-2, as well as the Ukrainian Vapor. It seems to be exactly what we're seeing here. So I'm assuming it's going to be a futuristic version of the AS-1, AS-2 combined with the Vapor, and I'm going to go ahead and guess this is going to be firing 762 by 39, and if it's not firing that, it's got to be firing 545 by 39, because that's the only other Russian AR caliber in game, but I'm thinking primarily this will probably be firing 762 by 39. Let me know down below what you guys think of that. We went super in-depth with this. I wasn't planning on having this long of a video, but I did all this off the top of my head too, so I happen to know quite a bit about Russian weapons if you're a fan of the channel here. So this is something that's a lot of fun for me to dive into. So let me know down below what you guys think this is. Do you think it's an AS-1, AS-2 futuristic bid? Do you think it's a combined version of that with the Ukrainian Malik or the Vapor? Or do you think it's something completely new? Maybe it's just a ground-up AK with something like that Black Storm or Bullpup chassis system put on there that the Russians make in 2042. But again, this is a new concept, so it's got to have some new features to it. Maybe we'll see some recoil compensation systems that we saw on the AK-107 platform. But the AC-42 Avotmat something model of 2042. We'll have to wait and see when the game comes out next month. Till next time, this is Buffner Gaming, out.